Welcome to the Infinity Fitness Q&A, and today we're going to discuss tri-phase reps, which can be applied for rapid fat loss, muscle growth, or both, depending on the individual client needs. The objectives are to stimulate fast twitch muscle fibers with fresh stimuli while also naturally increasing fat-burning hormones. This is a great system for women wanting to lose body fat as well and not necessarily gain muscle. It just depends on how the techniques are applied. And before Todd starts with the tri-phase set example, I want to explain how they're executed. From the bottom position, he'll go up 1/3 of the way, he'll pause for a second, come back down to the chest, go up 2/3 of the way, pause for a second, come back down to the chest, and then do a whole rep as normal. So that entire sequence is one rep. And as you're going to see, the duration of the set under load is going to be much greater than what you're accustomed to. And the whole purpose here is to provide fresh stimuli for the muscles. The more experienced you are with training, the greater the need for new stimuli to drive rapid progress. I know this based on 15 years working with a wide variety of successful clients. And while I have clients of many different experience levels, I've had many come my way seeking a single-digit body fat percentage, also wanting more lean muscle mass. And many of these clients have more than 15 years of experience, which means their nervous systems are very mature. So if you can remember back to the initial days of when you started training and results came really easy, it had a lot to do with the stimuli of weight training in general and perhaps things you were doing with your nutrition plan as being very foreign, to the body, and these good signals created a very good result. But the longer you've been training, the more important the tactics become. And you can't just resort to the same old things that worked for you, a few years ago or even longer. So keep in mind, it's not random change that's needed every 6 weeks or so with training. It's strategic change. And the tri-phase reps are an excellent tool for providing fresh stimuli, again, for rapid muscle growth and fat loss, or even both if the program is manipulated correctly. So Todd's going to start here with the tri-phase rep, and you'll see how he's going through the rep deliberately with the pause points as well. So we're planning on about a 1-second pause each of these points. So Todd goes up 1/3, he pauses, comes down, up 2/3 of the way, pauses again, down, and then all the way up, and then comes down at an even pace here. And for each client, the execution may be different based on the length of time of each one of those phases. Determining what to do in those cases has a lot to do with the individual client needs as well as the makeup. So as you can see here, this set, if you do, let's say, 8 reps, is going to last much longer than the typical set, which probably is in a range of 20 seconds. A tri-phase set is going to be somewhere between 40 or 50 or maybe even 60 seconds, under a heavy load. The pauses in particular are a big shock to the system. They're going to provide some very fresh stimuli. You're going to see, especially as you increase the loading, that those pauses really require you to work very hard just to keep the weight there, especially as the number of reps in the set, goes on. So you'll see a lot of benefit from that. The tri-phase reps also, as it becomes related to pressing, does an excellent job of working the weaker ranges of motion. So when most people fail, whether it's on a bench press or a dumbbell press, they're failing towards the bottom because there's some kind of weakness in the chest, and there could be some other areas. But by doing the sets in this particular execution, we're putting more emphasis, on the chest to help fix imbalances as well as weaknesses, and less emphasis on the top portion of the movement where the triceps tend to take over more, depending on how your grip is orientated. The number of reps is obviously also going to dictate the load. So especially if you're trying to gain lean muscle mass quickly, the loading is going to be very high. So we might use reps of somewhere in the lower rep ranges, perhaps maybe 3 to 5, to stimulate the fast twitch fibers, and that's especially important for somebody like Todd, who's very fast twitch fiber dominant. So recovery becomes extremely important as you become more experienced with training, because you have to use these very aggressive stimuli for training sessions that aren't necessarily very long. Most of my clients, are training 3 to 4 times a week in sessions that are anywhere from 45 minutes or possibly even less, depending on the person's individual recovery rates. So we drink the 100% MR and the muscle synthesis before, during, as well as after training to accelerate the rate of recovery of not only the muscles, but also the nervous system. And if you're excessively sore following a training session in terms of your muscles and also have what I call a post-workout kind of hangover in terms of you're just feeling very sluggish, that means you didn't recover well from the training session and kind of defeats the purpose of training altogether. If you add in stress or poor sleep or some other factors to that equation, your training sessions can become counterproductive altogether, and it can actually waste muscle and increase fat deposition in the midsection for men and more so in the lower body for women based on increasing the stress hormones. So you've always got to account for, it's not just the training program design, but also your recovery conditions. And Dr. Serrano's proprietary blend of ingredients within the 100% MR accelerates recovery, as we mentioned, forces the body to burn more stored fat as fuel, and lays the raw material foundation for muscle growth. The specific ratios of the ingredients are based on more than 10 years of Dr. Serrano's hormonal blood work reviews, muscle biopsies, performance reviews, body composition testing, and more. So these specific ratios were not identified at random. This was done based on many years of development. Tastes great as well, and also helps to keep hydration levels very high. If you were to use the 100% MR and the muscle synthesis regularly around training, you'll notice the muscles being much fuller and performance improving quite dramatically as well, in addition to the improved body composition within a relatively short period of time.